Hello and welcome to my shop. My name is Walt. This is DreamWorks Wood Shop. I thought I was about due for a new shop tour. The last one I did was 2015. I have made a few changes to the shop and a few upgrades from the video that I had on my website, so I just wanted to kind of update things a little bit. I'd like to start off with this feature wall here. This feature wall is something that has a lot of tools on it that were my father's, my grandfather's, my father-in-law. Tools that they used and through their woodworking journey. And I'm more of a hybrid woodworker. I like using a lot of hand tools and a lot of power tools. I guess it depends on the job, but I prefer to use hand tools. But some of these old tools on the wall, some of the projects they used them on, they have a lot of history, and I thought that I would go ahead and put them on a display wall as a feature wall, and then periodically I come up to grab one of these tools and incorporate it in one of my projects, just kind of passing it on a little bit. But I wanted to start off with this hand tool wall, or a feature wall I should say. Going down into the shop, there's my Studley tool chest poster. For everybody needs one of those in their shop. Heading down to the shop area. The shop area is approximately 700 square feet. I have an additional, let's say 750 square feet. I have an additional area for about 200 more square feet that I can incorporate at some point. But I have it set up here in different types of stations for workflow, things that I've kind of learned over the years. It's so much easier to have individual stations set up so you're not running from one shop to the other side of the shop trying to accomplish simple things that would take forever to try to find tools and all. So this station right here is my sharpening station. Cabinet on the top houses basically a bunch of rags and things for sharpening. Of course, the station itself has a slow turn grinder on it. It has a work sharp station, and it also has some water stones down on the bottom. But anyway, it is a dedicated station. It works great. Kind of pass the time away and just kind of get away from the other end of the shop and listen to some tunes and sharpen some chisels. This area in the corner here is a media area. I use this area for any of my woodworking books, any reference books. It's got a laptop there that swivels, so I could either work in that area there, or I could swing it out towards the tripod there to work with it more in the shop, and it has a larger monitor above that. But I use that area there for reference for editing videos. It seems to be enough room for me. Over here next to that is an area that I house all my drills, drill bits, anything that has to do with screwdrivers, some of the old Stanley screwdrivers up on the top there, the bit braces, some of the auger bits in those boxes. And let me open this up here, in an area where I keep basically all my drills and batteries all plugged in, keep them out of the way. Turning over to the left side of my shop is have a little flat screen up there for race day and football games when I'm down here. All my Festool sustainers and equipment over there on the right. Heading back to the back wall of my shop is my joiner. It's an 8-inch Grizzly. I replaced had this one replaced the 6-inch joiner that I had, and the reasoning for it was the joiner that I had was just an old 6-inch rigid, and it worked great. I had never had any problems with it. Had it for probably 6 or 7 years. But being a furniture maker, the longer bed on this, 3 horsepower, it definitely has been a godsend. I mean, it's been a great machine. I haven't had any problems with it. I love Grizzly products, and I'm not sponsored by them. So, but I do love their equipment. A rack, a lumber rack there on the right-hand side of the shop. So when you're walking into the shop, there's a double door to bring any lumber in. There's a lumber rack to the right. Most of that lumber is domestic lumber. I don't really keep a lot of lumber on there that I use on a daily basis, a lot of rough lumber. I usually store that in the back vertical. I found out that sometimes it's just a hassle. I know it's great to store your lumber horizontal, but it's just a hassle when you want to try to get a couple pieces out for a project and you have to empty all the shelves just to get to it. So. But anyway, I do use that for some domestic lumber and all, maybe for jigs and some little small pieces. Right next to that, so again, the workflow when I come in, there's my 8-inch joiner, my table saw, and my planer for dimensioning lumber. It's a 3 horsepower Steel City, has a 52-inch fence. The cabinet underneath stores saw blades and things of that nature for the table saw. My planer to the left of that is a 13-inch Delta. Many times I've thought about getting a 15-inch planer, but to be honest with you, I just can't justify it. Most of the boards that I usually get to work with are probably 8 to 10 inches, 11 inches wide anyway, so I really can't justify most as far as glue ups go. I mean, anything I do as far as surfacing boards, they're 8 to 10 inches anyway, so it'd be nice to maybe have a nice drum sander at some point, but I can't justify getting a 15-inch. I'd love to have one, but to be honest with you, to me it's just not really worth the investment right now. Maybe when this one dies, I'll go ahead and I'll purchase one, but right now I just don't need it. Again, it is a 3 horsepower table saw, 52-inch fence. I do like that. Steel City, when they were going out of business, they had some really great deals on their table saws. I haven't had any issues with it. It's been a great saw to me so far. You pan back around over here. Coming in from the outside to the left side of the shop, I have my router station, and I have a dedicated board above it, wall, for anything that has to do with my router, any kind of templates, things for making bow ties, hanging on that wall behind it. It is a 3 1/4 horsepower Milwaukee Router in it. I love it. It's great for working with. I haven't had any issues with it. I do have the anchor plate, which I love. It used to be such a hassle having to take the router out to change bits on it, so they do make some great products. I've got my drill press, standing drill press right next to it, and my mortising machine, so I try to keep everything in that nature on this side of the shop. I've got an individual small dust collector there just to handle the router and my sanding station. Above it is just some storage, some wood screws, some stuff for finishing, dominoes, biscuits, some sandpaper, epoxy. Things kind of all stored in those little bins. This wall right here, I'm kind of using it for a jig wall and maybe some templates to hang some stuff onto the back corner of the shop. Just a little table underneath it with the 3 drawers. Just houses a lot more of my individual sanders, palm sanders, orbital sanders, things like that. There's my hardware wall. That's something that needs to be changed at some point. It's not very organized, but it is organized, so if that makes any sense. It's just, I know where it's at, but I can't find what I need in half the time, so that's something I do need to work on. Underneath is my metal cabinet. I keep all my stains in and finishes, right next to the sprayer there. A little storage in the back. The other wall here is a wall across from the router table, and I use that for a lot of router bits and storage. In these cabinets I keep some additional routers to use for hand routing. Over here is my K-Packs. I tell you, I was really hard pressed to spend the money on a K-Packs, but I've loved Festool products. I haven't had any problems with them. And I had a DeWalt 780 that I loved, and I had finally said I was going to go ahead and purchase this Festool K-Packs. And I tell you, I don't have any, I mean, it's just been a great machine. I mean, the cuts are clean. There's no tear out. The dust collection is a lot better, which was something that I was really hoping for. On the wall there, I just have a little shop vac that has a long extension hose on it with a little dust deputy to keep the filter from getting clogged up, which will pretty much reach around the entire shop. Looking at the shop from this angle, again, walking back, there's a lumber rack, a joiner, table saw, my planer. Back side here, this side of the shop, I have my bandsaw. I do have the extension on that for resawing. I have a separate dust collector here with an Oneida Air Systems two-stage collector on it, which really helps. Most of my duct work in this area runs along the wall, and it goes underneath and it picks up the table saw. And the planer. Underneath my assembly table is just some scrap bends. I have one for long cutoffs, one for short cutoffs in the middle. A couple extra tools underneath, just another small DeWalt saw. Air compressor for working at the table. Getting back into this corner again, I'm skipping all over the place. I apologize. Here's my clamps. Most of them are 48 and 52 inch long for larger pieces. A smaller clamp wall here with some individual clamps all nestled up on the right side. This little plain wall here has been a feature wall that I've worked on for a while. Right in front of this plain wall I want to build my workbench so that it's everything is going to be housed right behind me. So if I'm working on the bench, I have access to my planes, my chisels, my marking tools to the left there, any of the scrapers, any specialty hand planes up there. That is also a cleat system. It was made with regular 3/4 ply, but with strips of walnut, cherry, curly maple, probably some spalted maple. It was really a lot of fun to build and to have as a feature wall. But what I did like about it the most is it was a cleat system, so that way I can mix and move those around anywhere I want, or I could just take them off, bring them to the bench. Over here, right next to this, is my handsaw till. I have some of the Japanese pool saws on the right there, some coping saws hanging on the strip, and some Western style old distance saws on the left there. A couple little dovetail saws hiding back in the back there. But I used to just hang all my saws and everything on the pegboard, and I just got to the point where it was sloppy, I couldn't get to them, so I thought I would incorporate something to the pegboard and keep all that. All my marking tools, my rulers and some of my measuring tools in the back there hanging up. On this corner here is my lathe. It's just a small lathe. I'm not a big turner, mostly just spindle turning. But you can turn probably about to a 36-inch piece there. It's got a dedicated wall for any chucks or any tools that have to be related to the lathe. Spinning back around. This is the other side of the shop, looking back. I don't want to keep this much longer. back in this back room is where I was telling you that I store a lot of my wood vertical. This is some finished projects covered up, and of course that's my 8/4 maple for, you guessed it, my workbench. Here's some of the rough lumber just standing up in the corner. It's easier to get to. That of course is going back out of the shop. And I wanted to utilize this space under the stairs for some of my smaller hand tools and jigsaws and things. They're circular saw, biscuit joiner, a lot of those are under there. And of course just some storage under that area. But this open area here is where my workbench is going to go. So again, this shop's always a work in progress. I really appreciate you stopping by. I've been wanting to update this video for a while. Until then, please give me a call. If you need, drop me an email. If you have any questions, I can answer anything that you might have a question about. But until then, be safe in your shop. Enjoy woodworking. And most of all, stay safe in your shop. Take care. Thanks. Bye-bye.